What books do CEOs read?
Hey Tom, it's the one and only Floyd Money Mayweather. First I want to say congratulations on your YouTube channel. Everybody needs to follow your YouTube channel. So what everyone needs to do is subscribe to Tom Peng. Great guy, great person. Tom, keep up the great work.
So you might have heard this before. You know, a typical CEO reads like 100 books a year. I can tell you that is bullshit. If you don't understand the word bullshit, go check my other video about the word shit. Learn English, the word shit, right? It is a fucking lie. CEOs don't read 100 books a year. I certainly don't read 100 books a year because CEOs, entrepreneurs, investors, you know, they spend their time just like they spend their money, right? You know, they put time into things that are productive, that will give them something back. You know, it has to be a good investment. So we don't read books just because for the sake of it. We don't read books just because we have to. We only read books if we believe that we are going to get something out of it, right? I only read books that I believe I will learn something from and that it will benefit my business, it will benefit my personal life, that the time I put into it is going to give me multiple returns, right? So, because and my time is expensive, right? So, you know, like if I spend 7-8 hours reading a book, that 7-8 hours I could be doing many other things. It's basically opportunity cost. If I read a book, it better be worth my time. It better give me the kind of return that's worth 8 hours of my time, right? So, what do CEOs read? It is not to say that, you know, I don't read books. I certainly do read books. And, you know, when I read a book, you know, I don't read from page 1 to the last page because that takes too much time. Every book has a table of content. So they have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, right? So I don't read the book from cover to cover. Instead, I go to the section that will help me and I read a few pages. And I take that information and I take fucking action. I apply it. I use it in my business. I use it in my life. You know, I don't wait until I finish the entire book. I take a little bit of information and I apply it. And that's how I believe CEOs and people like myself, you know, use books. And I think if you apply it in your life, you might actually find much faster productivity from reading books. And books are actually wonderful because, you know, I talk about mentorship, right? You know, I have mentors and mentors help me a lot. You know, in a way, when you read a book or when you watch my videos or you watch somebody who's really successful, you know, you are learning from them. They're in fact giving you mentorship, even though they don't know that they're mentoring you, right? So when I read a book, it's like I'm getting mentorship. They're teaching me something. So books are actually quite useful. And I do love books. I just have to be very careful how I use my time. For example, I don't go to the golf course. I do not play golf because that just takes too much of my time, right? I don't go to the movie theater because that takes too much of my time. And similarly, if I'm going to read a book, it better be worth my time. I have 4 books that I picked. I have to admit I didn't read them. Right? Like I said, I don't read book from cover to cover. And I am just gonna randomly, you know, review these books, right? Some of them I've read some of them I've never read. So let's see, what book do I pick? Let's pick this one. Oh boy, there's a lot I have to say about this book. So this book is written by Fran Hauser, all right? The book is called The Myth of the Nice Girl, right? Achieving a career you love without becoming the person you hate. So what this book is about is it's teaching girls to become leaders, to become managers, all right? And Fran is teaching the reader how to be an effective leader without being a bitch. In fact, if you read at the back, it says, you know, Hauser, the author, proves that women don't have to sacrifice their personality to be successful, right? You don't have to be evil to be successful. If women are nice, they're seen as weak and ineffective. But if they're tough, they're labeled as bitch, right? So somehow magically, this book is going to teach girls how to be a great leader without being a bitch. But I can tell you this, right? Leaders have to be tough. Leaders are assholes. Steve Jobs is an asshole. Steve Ballmer is an asshole. Every effective leader in this world are assholes. It's always the leader that pushes their people that gets results. You cannot not be a bitch and be a leader. So I can tell you this book is a piece of shit, right? And reading Friend Hauser, reading what he does for a life, he's never actually led a company. He writes, he's an author. He writes articles in magazines. He's never led a company. So I can tell you immediately, whatever is in this book is shit. There's nothing in this book that will help you, because I know leadership is not nice. There's no way you can be an effective leader by being a nice person. That is a pipe dream. That is a fucking bullshit lie. Okay, this book is shit. So next, what other book are we gonna review? I don't know. I'm just getting started. Let's say this one. Oh, this one. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. All right. So I actually made a video about this book. Click the link somewhere or in the description below. This is an awesome book. All right. So this book was written, I think, in the early 1900s. I never read the complete book, but I can tell you that everything in this book is correct. Napoleon Hill was an author that followed Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie is the richest person in history. We're talking about the beginning of the time until now, right? He's the richest person, has the most money because he was in the steel business in the early 1900s, and that was the biggest thing there was because everybody was building railroads to connect, the continent, connect countries, and he was building steel to make that happen. And he was the richest person in the world, and Napoleon Hill basically studied Andrew Carnegie. They were friends. And basically, and he studied many, many other people, including Thomas Edison. And then he put his analysis into this book, why they are successful, why these people, super rich people in the early 1900s, why are they successful? And chapter 1, I can tell you this. Chapter 1, let me find that, all right? What does chapter 1 say? Actually, chapter 1 says thoughts are things. What it tells you is that thought becomes reality. If you think it, it will happen. That's why this book is called Think and Grow Rich, right? So that's how this book starts. It tells you thought becomes reality. And what does Tom say? What is Tom's number one rule? Thought becomes reality. And if you want to understand what I'm saying in this channel, you just have to read this book. Basically, this is the mindset you need to have if you want to be successful in anything, whether it's business, in personal life, in love life, in family life, in maybe you're competing in sports, maybe you want to win the Olympics, whatever it is. This is the book of the successful mindset. And everything starts with thought becomes reality. Among many other things, I'm not going to cover this whole book, except I'm going to say I highly recommend it. This is the best-selling business book in history, right? And I did not tell you last time in my other video that, chapter 11 is actually my favorite chapter because it actually talks about, let me find chapter 11, all right? The mystery of sex transmutation. People who read this chapter may not understand it, but basically, in short, what this chapter says is that the truly successful people, and remember Napoleon Hill studied a lot of them, right? The really, really successful, highly performant people, they have extremely high sex drive. They want to fuck everything that moves, right? And the challenge is to transmutate that sexual energy into, work, into achieving, goals, right? I think it's very true, and I can tell you that I can totally relate to this. Like, of all the very successful people that I know, they have extremely high sex drive. I know I have, right? So, great book. Clearly, Napoleon Hill studied very successful people, and he understands them. I highly recommend this. And also, we're doing a little prize giveaway. We're looking for the 3 most creative answers to this question. How do super fat people wipe their butt? The 3 most creative answers in the comment section below. We will give out books, all right? My favorite book. The book is called Think and Grow Rich. And the winners can win this book. There will be 3 winners. And this book is in English, but I have 3 Vietnamese versions that I want to give away. So if you win that competition, you can win this book. All right? I got 2 more books to review. Let's see. What am I going to talk about next? Oh, this one. Okay, Robert Kiyosaki. I also made a video talking about this book. This book is The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all right? So I think you may heard of this book because it's kind of a famous book, I think even in Vietnam. And I can tell you that this is a fantastically great book, all right? This is an awesome book because everything in here is almost correct, all right? I can help you. Go watch my other video and you'll understand everything about this book, but I will give you a quick summary here. Basically, what Robert Kiyosaki is telling you is that, money is a depreciating commodity, right? Money is always losing its value. So if you have $100 now, or if you have, 500K dong now, 10 years later, that 500K dong cannot even buy you a Coca-Cola, for example, because money is always losing its value. So that's why, you have to put money somewhere that doesn't lose value. That's number 1, right? You cannot just put the money in the bank because money will lose its value. $1 million in a bank account 20 years ago was a lot of money, but that same $1 million in the bank account today is worth almost not a lot. All right, let's just say not a lot. Like in North America, in Vancouver, where I come from, you can't even buy a house with $1 million, right? Well, here you can probably buy a very nice apartment, but that's about it. You cannot buy a villa, for example. Money is always losing its value, and Robert is teaching you that you should put your money where it doesn't lose as much value, right? Number 2 thing that Robert teaches you is that you have to change the way you think about asset and liability. Because in accounting, we think of asset as something that you own, liability as something you owe. Like if you owe somebody money, it's a liability. If you have something in your possession, that's an asset. But Robert wants you to change that notion. Robert wants you to think that an asset is something that will make you money. Will put money into your pocket. And a liability is something that will take money away from you, which is actually not how accountants think about asset and liability, but Robert wants you to change the way you think. And I think he's absolutely right. So I'll give you an example, right? Let's say I go and buy a Mercedes-Benz SL63 or whatever. I buy a super nice sports car. I actually did, but anyways, that is stupid. That's idiotic. I would not recommend it because you're buying a liability. You're buying something that will break down. You have to spend money to fix. You have to buy insurance. You have to put gas into it. That is a liability. It doesn't help you make money. Sure, you drive a nice car. People look at you. That's all good and well, but it is a liability. It doesn't make you any money unless you rent out that car and then you make money from it. Then that's an asset. Otherwise, it's a liability. So even if you buy a house, right, you're thinking that, oh, you'll make money from it. No, no, no. If you're buying a house and you're paying water, electricity, you're paying money to fix the house, it's a liability. The only way that house is an asset is when you rent it out, or you do Airbnb and you're making money from it, then that becomes an asset. So Robert wants you to buy assets. Robert wants you to put money into things that are assets, not liabilities. Don't buy expensive sports cars, stupid, and don't buy things that are don't really help you generate more wealth. This is a really good book. I highly recommend it. If you want to build wealth, this is the book that you should read. But I just summarized the key points of this book for you already. Well, I guess I have one last book. That I have to review today. And this book is called The Magic of Thinking Big. All right? The Magic of Thinking Big by this David Schwartz, PhD guy, right? And I can tell you that David Schwartz has never run a business. So I wouldn't totally believe in this book. But he's a PhD, so he's not an idiot, right? I did read parts of this book, and I can tell you this is actually not a bad book. Basically, I can summarize this book for you in a very, very simple sentence, all right? Basically, if you believe you can do something big, then your brain will find a way to do it. If you don't believe you can do something big, then you can't do it. So if you believe you can find 1,000 home-based salesperson, for the company, then you can do it. Your brain will find a way to do it. If you believe you can do it, your brain will find the solution to it. If you believe you can, drive 50,000 goal-free registrations to your company, then you can do it. But if you don't believe you can do it, then it won't happen. If you believe you can, create a very successful, search engine optimization program for your product, then you will find a way to do it. But if you don't believe you can do it, then you're right, you can't do it. Basically, what this book says is that if you believe something is possible, then you can do it, no matter how big it is. And I can tell you that my 30 years in business and life, that is completely true. I have done so many things that are impossible, including this YouTube channel. I would never imagine I would do something like this, but anything's possible if you believe you can do it. If you believe you can do it, you can rap. If you believe you can do it, you can do a music video. If you believe you can do it, you can sing. A lot of people say, oh, I can't sing. Well, I don't believe that, because you already believe you can't sing. That's why you cannot sing. But if you believe you can, you can. You'll find a way. You'll find a way to do it. Find a music teacher or whatever, right? So I think this book I just summarized for you. You don't have to read it, but actually it's got some really good stories in there. I think it's still worth your time. So look for this book in most Vietnamese bookstores. I think they carry it. That is the review of books from me, all right? Highly recommend this one, Think and Grow Rich. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you want to grow wealth. And remember, always think big. Take fucking action. And don't be a fucktard.